Hello and welcome to Group 17's Contemporary Issues Presentation, where we'll be focusing on the following three modules: platforms and the changing nature of works, poverty and economic inequality, and financial fragility and crisis. The first module we will be focusing on will be platforms and the changing nature of work. The following topics will be discussed. Up until recently, Uber had their employees labelled as self-employed contractors. The problem with this is they are not entitled to perks such as sick pay. However, the Supreme Court rules that they will now be categorised as employees. The Oxford Dictionary defines the gig economy as a labour market categorised by the prevalence of short-term contracts or freelance work as opposed to permanent jobs. In the UK, it is estimated that more than 5 million people are employed in the gig economy, and has more than doubled in the past 3 years. The reason for this is that it offers a flexible source of income to people, and they can balance it around other aspects of their life. People are free to choose work whenever they feel like it. Look at Uber, Deliveroo, and Uber Eats as examples of this. The surge in the gig activity within the economy should therefore lead to an increase in self-employment within the data. However, most data collected from the labour market does not include the gig economy within its data. This is obviously an issue, as people who are essentially self-employed are not included within records or surveys of the labour market. We therefore need to turn our attention to how we can capture the gig economy better, and this can be done by improving surveys to improve measurement of the self-employed activity. The rise has enabled the gig economy to take off, which has had its benefits in enabling people freedom and flexibility that they cannot find elsewhere and maximise labour productivity. However, the problem with this is that it can lead to problems such as structural unemployment. The solution to this is to make education and training more readily available and encourage people to improve their skill set and their productivity. However, a further problem is that employers may face challenges looking for new employees in certain departments, as the process of finding the right workers may cause some delays, as jobs are not good, so there's no way the business could know the quality of service a worker can provide. We have also delved into COVID-19 and how this has affected this module. From November 2020 to January 2021, the economic activity rate increased, and the employment rate continued to fall during the pandemic. The UK employment rate, according to the National Office for National Statistics, was estimated at 75%, 1.5% lower than the previous year, with the unemployment rate estimated at 5%, 1.1% higher than the previous year. The rising figures in employment can be explained by the pandemic. The government's fiscal response to this, through the pandemic, has resulted in schemes such as the furlough scheme, which has seen the government spend an estimated £46.4 billion, with 11.4 million jobs furloughed and millions saved from unemployment and redundancy, according to the business data platform Statistica. However, the sheer cost of this scheme and the need to borrow by the government means that in the long term we will see higher debt repayments within the budget, which can negatively affect the UK in the long term, as higher taxes will be needed to balance the budget and bring down the national debt. The second module which will be discussed will be poverty and economic inequality. The following topics will be discussed. Economic inequality and poverty reflect distribution and command over resources, with resources including income, wealth, and purchasing power. There are obviously many different opinions in society on how we should tackle the two issues, so it has been a hot topic for controversy. For income inequality, the main metric to measure here is income distribution. If we look at the Rennes curve for the UK from 2009, it shows the poorest 80% only got 53% of the total income, and the rest of the 47% total income went to the richest 20%, which we can infer From this, we can infer that there is severe income inequality within the United Kingdom. However, the Lorenz curve does have limits. So, instead, to make certain conclusions, we can use the Gini coefficient to get a clearer understanding and degree of income equality faced by countries worldwide. According to the Office of National Statistics, the Gini coefficient for the UK peaked at 38.6% in 2007/8 during the financial crisis. Since then, the Gini coefficient has gone down, and the latest 2019-20 figures show a coefficient of 34.6. However, when comparing this to the 1977 coefficient, it had a much lower value of around 25. The increase in inequality over the years can be linked to factors such as the increased value of assets, especially homeowners, an increase in population, but failure for people to join the labour force, which may be due down to age, beliefs, or other similar factors. Measuring poverty. To measure poverty, we can use and create a poverty line to understand the issue, which will be different from country to country as cost of living varies, including the purchasing power, which is how much that currency holds weight in that particular country. For example, you can use the Big Mac index. In the UK policies, there are policies like the benefit cap that causes poverty, mostly child poverty. The reasons behind this are that children will not perform well in school and may be discouraged to join the labour force at a later age because they are uneducated. Poverty also results in a poorer quality of life, both standard of life and material life, which can obviously lead to more income equality in the long run and worsen the Gini coefficient. In conclusion, governments across the world should be implementing policies that include characteristics for a more equal society, resulting in economic growth and better quality of life for everyone. The third and final module we'll be looking at is financial fragility and crisis. The following topics will be discussed. This was Contemporary Issues Week 1 topic and was taught by Professor Pankios Dimitrios, who is a former European Central Banking Governing Council member and the former Governor of the Central Bank of Cyprus. This really helped as his own experience and insights could improve his teaching and his comments. The term for this is systemic crisis, which can be defined by a bank, if it were to fail, would have adverse systemic effects on the banking system and the entire economy. Action is taken to avoid this by policy makers, which is costly. If the banking system were to fail, it would also affect the payment system, meaning everything would grind to a halt. A bank's balance sheet is categorized into assets and liabilities. Loans equate to 60% of assets. Loan repayments are a large part of a bank's revenue. However, when a repayment is 90 days or more overdue, it becomes a non-performing loan, also known as an MPL. If an MPL is not managed or mitigated at an early stage, the banks risk insolvency. A solution for this is that banks usually restructure the loan or sell the problem to clear it from their balance sheets, which is extremely costly. A repercussion of this is it puts the bank into a vulnerable state. An exponential spiral can occur, causing the bank to trigger a crisis, for example, even a recession on a large scale. Changes over the years. Reasons why loans become MPLs is due to a vast array of reasons, from asymmetric information between the loaners and between the borrowers and the lenders. For example, the borrowers knowing certain reasons why they cannot pay the loan back, which can to sudden difficulties in life such as unemployment and therefore the inability to meet payments. Two major events over the years have changed the way we look at loans and structure them. For example, the 1970 savings and loan crisis and the 2007 to 2008 financial crisis. The 2007-2008 crisis changed how loans are structured by the introduction of more thorough checks in the person and stepping in as early as possible to mitigate loans to turn into NPLs. The reason behind the 2008 crisis is due to subprime mortgages, meaning that mortgages were not fully understood by the bank, however they were still approved. How to tackle failing banks. From being a part of the lectures and tutorials, Professor Pankios Dimitrios stated that it's not good enough just to change the macroeconomic policies from a bank, such as interest rates, but you need to tackle directly with the banks. An example of this would be the 2013 Cyprus. In 2013, at the G20 summit, Cyprus used a new technique called bailing, which would be fairer on the taxpayers. The new concept in 2013 of Cyprus was extremely important, as it held people of the bank accountable for once. They wiped out the following members in the following order. Shareholders first. They choose who the managing director and the chief executive will be, and the second is the bondholders. Thirdly, people who hold deposits within the bank. Bondholders and deposit holders are important as they can convert their bonds and deposits into equity, therefore returning a profit. Lastly, a research paper commissioned by the ICCC showed that the larger the financial institution is in the country, the larger the fall in the financial crisis. This is shown by developed countries' GDP only growing 3.2% in 2009, compared to the only 2.1% growth expected. In contrast, emerging countries grew 7.1%. Thank you very much for listening.